Good morning and welcome to another weekend lockdown vlog. It's been about a week since I have had time to vlog. It's just been busy with homeschooling, with trying to keep the house from looking like a disaster zone. Yeah, it's been a week, but we survived and we are heading into another rainy lockdown weekend, which is not exciting. But I thought I'd go through some of the highlights of the week. Biggest highlight of the week, number one, is it was my birthday. Not the preferred way to spend my birthday, but my family and friends really tried to make it a special day. I got lots of phone calls and well wishes from especially friends and family in the States. Some girlfriends here were super sweet and sent me a big box of essential goodies. So it was like wine and chocolate and things like that, which was a fun surprise to show up on my doorstep. And John and the kids did such a sweet job trying to put together little homemade gifts. And the big event was they put on like a full 3-course gourmet dinner. I mean, it was incredible, the dinner that we had. We can't do takeout, we can't, there aren't restaurants that are open, but they did manage to put together a very, very fancy lobster bisque with caviar for our starter and a duck confit for our main and a delicious lemon cake for dessert. And everyone loved it. The kids were so excited that they got to participate in making this very fancy meal. We opened up some nice wine and it was really just a fun way to spend the evening with the family. So I felt celebrated, loved, and yeah, like we did the best we could with my birthday. It was about as good a lockdown birthday as one could get. On the COVID side of things, the cluster is, of course, growing. I think the last number I saw was 347 cases now. So the bad news is the cluster is bigger. There are 19 people in hospital and 1 in the ICU. The good news is that most of the cases that are popping up now are household cases of existing infected people. So it's not so many surprise cases in the community that weren't expected. That shows that the lockdown is actually working and that we are making progress towards our goal of getting rid of the Delta variant. So there is a little bit of hope. But yesterday the government did announce that the rest of the country is going to be in lockdown in level 4 until Tuesday. And Auckland and north of the country, realistically, is going to be in lockdown for another 2.5 weeks in level 4. After getting out of level 4, we transitioned down to level 3. That's a little bit nicer because you can do click and collect at stores, there's takeaways from restaurants. Again, I am really missing good coffee. So there are just a few more options of things that are open. Schools are still closed, so from that perspective, we're still homeschooling, we're still doing distance learning. That's not terribly exciting, but we've kind of figured out our routine. We're in a groove. The kids aren't going to fall backwards. I don't know if they're going to learn much, but they're not going to forget a bunch of things. I think it makes it doable because we know that there is a light at the end of all of this, and we know that this works, and there really are some good systems set in place as far as support for businesses, support for parents who are trying to do distance learning and homeschooling. You know, things are not crazy and you don't feel kind of left out to dry. Like, you feel like there's a lot of support for you. So this weekend we are left with trying to entertain the kids when it's rainy outside, which means baking projects, crafting projects. We're gonna try a gymnastics class over Zoom, which we haven't tried before. I'm not quite sure how that's gonna work, but hey, it's something, and hopefully we are all still sane on Monday morning.
We are making apple baby today. You need 1, just 2, 3 apples. We're making Bosque brownies. And so here's the ingredients. There's the recipe. And that's what they should turn out. So let's see how they go. Put the flour, cocoa powder, baking powder, and salt in a small bowl. Stir with a wooden spoon until well mixed. Set aside.
Meadow, what are you gonna do?
Make a fancy box, and I have this paper.
It's Sunday. Yay. I didn't even bother doing a recap yesterday because nothing happened. We did our kind of key activities in the morning, and confession, the kids spent all afternoon watching Netflix. We had dinner and then we watched the rest of episode 5 of Star Wars last night. So it was an electronic babysitter kind of day, and we all needed it. Everyone's in a much better mood today. So this morning it's gonna be pretty normal. We're gonna do some breakfast. It's Sunday, so that means house cleaning day during lockdown. I'm going to try to get in some activities outside. It is clearing up. There's some sun, so hopefully not as rainy as it was yesterday. We're going to do a little work on the playroom, getting it cleaned up and getting it all set up for school next week. But yeah, not a terribly exciting lockdown day. This morning in all the media, the tone on COVID has changed kind of for the first time I've noticed. There's a lot of opinions saying, oh, the curve isn't flattening enough. It shouldn't be, still shouldn't be getting these high case numbers. There were 82 new cases yesterday. This is going to be a long lockdown. Maybe should we start thinking about abandoning the elimination strategy? And then further down in the articles, it says, yeah, there are all these cases, but 70 of them belong to one cluster. So it's like they're all known cases. There's a church service that happened before lockdown that seems to be a super spreader event. Almost half of all of the 429 cases now are from this one church service. So I don't know if I'm feeling quite the same feelings as some of the opinion writers in the newspapers do. I mean, yes, the cases are still climbing. Yesterday was day 11 of lockdown, and if you look at what happened last year, day 11 was like our highest day. It was tied with another day as like the highest days of new cases in all of lockdown. So I don't know, it just doesn't seem like we should be freaking out quite yet. I mean, maybe this time next week, if we're still getting these high numbers, that's when we start freaking out. But right now, it just seems a little premature. So hopefully today there are better numbers with new cases, but you know, when you look at all the cases and how they're connected, I mean, they're doing a great job tracking and tracing. We generally know how people are connected. There's not a lot of new places of interest popping up, so the lockdown does seem to be working in that respect. With that being said, I actually sat down with the calendar last night and looked at the dates, and if what they're saying is true, so 2 weeks from Tuesday, the rest of New Zealand at midnight will get out of level 4, move to level 3, and Auckland will probably stay in level 4 for 2 more weeks. That puts us on September 15th, and then if we do 2 more weeks after that of level 3, that puts us right at the very end of September. And then there's 2 weeks of school holiday, like already planned for the first couple weeks of October. And honestly, I think I'm gonna email schools and be like, you need to move these 2 weeks to these 2 weeks of school holiday to the last 2 weeks of September. Distance learning is hard on everyone. I would rather either have a distance learning break and then maybe have a couple more weeks of distance learning if things do get extended, or if things are clearing up, I want my kids to get back in school. I mean, yes, we're doing distance learning, but it's not quite the same as being in class with a teacher. And so I'd rather make up that time. And I realize this is a futile effort to try to get that changed, but I think I'm gonna send those emails anyway, just to plant the seed. So if anyone else in New Zealand thinks that's a good idea, maybe we can like start a little trend of asking the schools to move up the school holidays 2 weeks to the end of September as opposed to the beginning of October. Maybe it'll do some good, maybe it won't, but I think it's worth a try. Anyway, time for breakfast. It is Sunday night. We're about to do story time and bed, and I can't wait to get in bed myself. It's been a very long weekend, but I do think we are more or less ready to go for tomorrow. And honestly, the weekend was fine. Saturday, we had our electronic babysitting, and today, it was fine. We did some painting. I got outside by myself for a walk, which was really nice. The kids and I went for a little bike ride later on. There was a little bit of sun, so it just wasn't so gloomy and like it was yesterday. And then near the end of the day, the kids and I got into a very serious game of Uno, and those two little sneakers started ganging up on me and sharing card information with each other so that I would lose, but joke's on them, I still won. Uno champion. The weekend itself turned out fine. The only downside was the big COVID announcement that there are something like 73 essential workers that have tested positive, and 25 of those tested positive since the lockdown began, which meant that they got infected at work. That, I've got to admit, makes me a little nervous. So they said that they're going to review protocols at essential services. And I don't know what that means, but all I can think of is, oh my God, are they going to limit when you can go to the grocery store? Because there's literally, there's grocery stores and there's pharmacies open and gas stations, and that's it. So I don't know how else they could make things more strict. Although, to be fair, at some of the grocery stores, they're doing a terrible job at enforcing social distancing, and it's been a little scary. In fact, my last grocery trip, I went to a different grocery store because I didn't feel safe at the one that I normally go to. So maybe a little bit more enforcement on that would actually be a good thing, but it's really making everyone feel like this is going to be longer than 2 weeks perhaps, which sucks. I'm kind of thinking realistically the kids will get back to school on October 18th, and hopefully everything will be cleared up by then. And I realize that people not in New Zealand, that might sound laughable and like wishful thinking, but here that's kind of the expectation. We've had so much success with lockdowns in the past that people generally follow the rules and do a good job, and it works here. So I think there will be a lot of upset and surprised people if it doesn't work, because we have every reason to believe it will. Fingers crossed that everything really starts to kind of plateau and decrease, and hopefully the cases start to go down soon so we can all get back to normal. But I am going to go read some stories, put some kids to bed, put myself to bed, and get ready for another fun week of homeschooling. So comment below if you've got any questions, and I will see you later. Bye.